Here's one Game Boy Advance game I've wanted to talk about for a long time. It's Castlevania, Aria of Sorrow. It's by far the best of the 3 Game Boy Advance Castlevania games, and I highly recommend you go check it out. The game was originally released way back in May 2003. Believe it or not, that was a year before Nintendo retired the Game Boy line and moved straight on to the Nintendo DS hardware. What makes Aria of Sorrow so interesting is the fact that it was the first Castlevania game to take place in the future. It actually takes place in the year 2035, and you play as a guy named Soma Cruz. And it's interesting because it has something to do with Dracula's resurrection from 1999, in which he was supposedly defeated. So what's going on? Now, there are a lot of really cool supporting characters in this game, and I gotta admit, it really feels like an evolution of Symphony of the Night, more so than any of the other Game Boy Advance Castlevania games, and it's mainly because there's just so much dialogue, there's so much story here, and as you go, you'll really get connected to all these different characters, and I really enjoyed that more so than any of the other Castlevania games on the GBA. Because it was following in the footsteps of Circle of the Moon and Harmony of Dissonance, it certainly is a Metroidvania game following in the legacy footsteps of Symphony of the Night. What does that mean? Well, it means you're going to be able to equip tons of different weapons, armor, and accessories, and there are lots and lots and lots of power-ups, but we'll get to those in just a second. One thing that I really want to mention here is that this is got to be the most balanced of the 3 Game Boy Advance games. It's nowhere near as challenging as Circle of the Moon, but it is much more difficult than Harmony of Dissonance. Okay, let's get back to that magic system that I was just about to touch on. In this one, you can steal souls, which grant you a wide assortment of secondary attacks, such as, I don't know, like throwing arrows, grenades, having a protective shield, things like that. And Soma can also equip soul powers. You see, that's how this system works. Soma actually absorbs the powers of enemies he defeats, and that's how he gains access to all those different sub-weapons. So your traditional sub-weapons aren't actually here, and that's kind of cool. You can also get additional powers, I don't know, things like being light as a feather. So when you jump off a platform, you can slowly move down to, say, like the ground or whatever. Why is that useful? Because it allows you to gain access to new areas. There are also passive abilities that you can eventually gain, which give you things like stat boosts or potentially the ability to walk on water, things like that. And it wouldn't be a Castlevania game if you didn't have core ability enhancements. Things like, I don't know, the backdash, the ability to slide, or the ability to do a double jump. And naturally, all of those things are here. Now, any of these soul powers require the use of the magic meter. And once your magic meter goes out, you're pretty much screwed and can't use any of these cool little powers. But don't worry, they're so easy to replace. All you gotta do is go ahead and find hearts, which are scattered literally everywhere. I think there's more hearts in this game than any of the Castlevania games that came before it. Now, one of the things that I really love with the soul power system is that it allows you to have access to dozens, potentially maybe even 100 different variations. So you might be able to, glide while you throw bones, while you have stat bonuses, while you have this and that, and there's just so much that you can do here because there's over 100 different enemies, and every enemy has the potential to drop their soul, where you can collect it and gain access to a new power-up, and I think that's absolutely awesome. The same great map system that was introduced with Symphony of the Night also returns, so that's a plus. Now, being that this is the last of the 3 Game Boy Advance games, you would expect it to look the best, and boy does it ever. The environments are awesome, boss battles are fantastic because the bosses are massive, and there's just so much more animation in all the characters, and especially in Soma. Now naturally there will be some recycled sprite designs here and there, but that's to be expected. But overall this is by far the nicest looking Castlevania game on the Game Boy Advance. And I'm also very happy to announce that the soundtrack is significantly better than Harmony of Dissidence. I still don't find it legendary status, but it is very, very good. And the sound effects here too have been recycled, but again, it's what you'd sort of expect. Overall, this is an amazing game, guys. There's multiple endings, a hidden playable character, and you've got the ability to trade souls you've collected with friends in order to, collect them all. I highly recommend you go and check this one out. It's available on the Game Boy Advance, and it's also available on the Wii U's Virtual Console. Go ahead and check it out. And if you want a lot more information, head on over to projectcoe.com for the full written review.